This is another exciting episode of You versus You, and it's your boy Dave Woods coming at you from Imago Dei Digital Media Ministry. My bad, Kike, forgive me. There was a little Freudian slip right there, but we'll just say IDDM. All right, Imago Dei Digital Ministry. All right, here we are. What I noticed in life is there's so much tension between the present circumstances and where I want to be in the future for that ideal, that dream life. And most of the time it feels like it's a pressure cooker. I'm in a pressure cooker right now. And I can either embrace the chaos or find the serenity in that tension, right? And when I am able to gather my thoughts and see the forest for the trees and realize that I'm exactly where I need to be with the plan that I have, all of a sudden my peace returns. And then I'm able to just go about it. And this is, I think that's probably one, it's the crux of what I'm talking about today, but then it's also the underlying theme to persevering when it comes to your gym routine and what that daily grind looks like. Getting to this point is what took so long to do. When I realized that, the obstacles is the way. The problems that you have in front of you is the way. It's a moment where it doesn't seem so chaotic. It doesn't seem like there's always some hurdle that's in the way or something that's that opposition to the things that I'm doing, right? So this is for everyone who says, especially for the new beginners, the people who have no idea about making a plan, sticking to the script, carrying it out, rinse, wash, repeat. This is that fundamental difference between the person who starts a resolution and who completes it and then creates a new, higher resolution and then carries it out. This is that moment where it's much easier to give up, no matter what's going on, whether it's a physical limitation, whether it be a emotional limitation, family background, this, that, and the third. Name whatever those things are that you consider a challenge, but then take a couple deep breaths and realize it's not always going to be like that. And then if it were to be like that, how much are you willing to fight beyond that circumstances that you find yourself in? It's that moment of saying, if you were to assess your life right now, no matter what age you are, if you turned around and 5 years had gone by, if things didn't change, would you be okay with that? For me, when I was 335 pounds, I said, I don't want to do this 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. What does it take to go beyond that? And that's how I got started that journey of losing 100 pounds. The same thing goes now. You want to lose 10 pounds? You want to lose 200 pounds? How badly do you want it? And what are you willing to do to make it happen? You have all the time in the world. Well, as a figure of speech, you have as much time as you want to spend looking at the problem and looking at the circumstances to then come up with the strategy to overcome that. In my world, I like to say, Jesus died on Good Friday, came back on Easter, right? 3 days. So you have 3 days to get over the breakup, 3 days to get over the rejection, 3 days to give over the death in the family, 3 days to get over yourself, right? All those things, whatever you want to apply it to, you 3 days. Cry, go into isolation, be depressed as you want to be as wild as you want. I'm not condoning any of those things. I'm just saying people deal with their problems differently. But you have 3 days. There should not be a moment where 3 years later you have not gotten over the rejection or gotten over some traumatic experience. I know that sounds very cold-blooded to some people who might be hearing this for the first time. It's a moment where when you start moving for healing and restoration and growth, when you get over how bad that mourning and then grieving phase was, you'll see that it's a brand new day and you have limitless options. But then as you get older, those options start to decline. So you're focused on the things that are getting you towards that ideal. And when you get to that ideal and you look back on that memory that was so terrible, so rough, I can't believe this thing happened, you actually recognize how it was a blessing for it to happen the way that it did, because it forced you to change. And I'll be the first one to tell you, change is hard. Change is very painful. It's different. You're going into the unknown. Anything could happen, right? Well, what do you want? What are you willing to do to get there? That's where it all starts. If you're listening to this, most likely you're here for self-improvement and self-development. So here's what it is. Here's how we go about it. It's in the title, You versus You. There's the version of yourself that you are right now. There's the version of yourself that you want to be in the future. Bridging the gap is the hard part. But when you start to build and you start to bridge it, you go through, walk over, and you find yourself there. When you're living that dream, when you're living that ideal, when life is perfect for the new circumstances, you can look back on that journey and say, what did I learn? What did I learn along the way? What can I share with others? What do I do now? That's where I say, do it again. Look at the new circumstances. What do you want now? Is it something that's still physical with the gym? Is it something with finances? Is it something with relationship? Is it making a better habits? Focus on that thing, just like you did with losing weight or gaining muscle, getting fit, and then stick to it. Rinse, wash, repeat. All right. I'm going to be speaking to something that was ingrained in me at a very young age at the good old YMCA, right? They had the, I don't know if they still do it, but they had this symbol of a triangle that symbolized the connection between mind, body, and spirit. And when you have those in equilibrium, life is just much more smooth. You get that peace. That had affected me when I think I might have been around 4th grade the first time I thought about it. I said, I wonder if there's something to that. I like that as a concept. Let's see what I can do. And that was the first gym I ever went to. That was the first job that I had working in a gym right there as a personal trainer. And then, I think they called it something like a fitness coach, because you got to have the certifications to be an official personal trainer. But then also volunteering with Special Olympics. I just found the love of weightlifting and getting physically stronger, something that was something. It was an interest of mine that I took to heart and just was able to foster my own character and make friends along the way. So that whole theme of having everything in proportion, mind, body, and spirit, just really resonated with me. That's the same thing for today's episode, saying just look in and say, in a perfect world, what would you want for anything related to the gym, health, and fitness? When you've thought about that, write it down. Write down what your goal is. Is it losing weight? Is it gaining muscle? Is it maintaining? I'm going to just interject my own line of thinking for a second and say, if you're new, you're not here to maintain. You're here to make a change. This would be more towards the intermediate to someone who's already reached a peak physical status. They have a new version of themselves, and they want to hold that and not lose too much. That's actually the challenge of once you hit your goal, is how to not only just avoid sliding back, but then what can you manage for the demands of the energy output, and how challenging whatever sessions you were doing, whatever cycles you had just went through to get there. But we're gonna table that for a second. My whole thing is for someone who's practically brand new to the gym or brand new to pushing themselves physically, and saying, okay, what's your strategy for getting to your goal? What's that timeline to get there? There's a big difference than 3 months and 3 years, right? So the level of intensity that you'd have to push yourself to reach your goal in 3 months when you knew you only had 3 years is completely different. That's where my man's David Goggins would tell you losing 110 pounds to even qualify for the military in 4 months was a monstrous obstacle to overcome. Did it, and then, became the process of becoming David Goggins. If you are not in that extreme situations, the desperate times calling for desperate measures moment, you probably have a more easy pace, or I should say, a more accessible timeline of achieving that goal. Look at me. I'll say I'm the opposite end of the spectrum of David Goggins. It's another David, right? It's David Woods, not David Goggins. Mine was practically 4 years to lose 100 pounds and was able to push, take a little bit of break. Push, take a little break. Enter a couple competitions, push, take a break. And so it was moments of intensity with the standard of just making the gym a part of my daily routine. You have to ask yourself, what are you able to do with what your work schedule looks like, your life schedule looks like, all those things. But the key takeaway in this comment is the bigger the goal, the bigger the sacrifice. If you have a really big dream, there's going to be some really big opposition to that. And it's mostly going to be from things that are internal over things that are external, like things that are coming from the outside forces. We'll say your neighbors, your parents, relationship stuff, people at work, coworkers, people at the gym, whatever that may be. That's just one factor that's outside of your control, but you can still navigate through all those things. And that's what it takes to be committed and not let anything that comes your way deter you from what your mission is. I'll say it. I feel like it needs to be said just one more time. The bigger the goal, the bigger the sacrifice. The bigger the dream, the bigger the opposition. I made a joke last episode about what would you do if you forgot your headphones when you're walking to the gym? And I said it mostly in jest, because what I would do is still go to the gym. That's not enough to throw off my game. Yes, it's annoying, and having music or a podcast to listen to, like you versus you, is needed fuel in the tank. But the whole thing is the slight inconvenience of some equipment, being your headphones and maybe even your phone, is not enough to knock off what the benefits of being consistent with what your routine looks like. If that's all it takes, I would definitely rethink what your reason is for going to the gym and pushing yourself as much as you are physically. There's going to be 99 other things that come up that could throw you off of just your one day. But then that one day becomes 2 days. That 2 days becomes 3 days. And everyone knows the hardest day to go back to the gym is the one after you missed that routine. All right, so just make a split-second decision. I will tell you right off the bat that whenever I pull up to the park, the track, or the gym, I take 2 minutes to just quiet down, to remember what those reasons are for going to the gym, and then remembering where I came from to get to this point currently, and then put in perspective where I am right now and where I want to be. That's that liminal space between current day reality and the projected ideal dream destination. This might be easier for some people than for others, and that's the beauty of motivation and following fitness enthusiasts or being inspired by a friend who overcame some huge obstacle to get that trophy, to get that goal, to get that physique that they wanted. But motivation only takes you so far. You have to ingrain in yourself a new pattern of doing things. That's a new habit of conducting yourself until it becomes the character that you are, until it becomes so second nature to you that if you were to skip pushing yourself physically, whatever it may be, that you'd say, something's wrong, something's off, right? It would be just as extreme as not brushing your teeth for a day. At the end of the day, hopefully one person would have at least said, hey, you want some gum? You want a Tic Tac? You want some mints? But if you hadn't noticed and no one had said anything, you might be able to get away with it, but you still would brush your teeth. That's the same mentality for pushing yourself physically and sticking to your restrictions on what you're eating. The next thing is, and we'll pretend this is your first episode. You have a good friend like a Guy Gazette who put you on the You versus You, and you said, I don't have time for the pilot episode or for episode 2 through 15. I'm gonna just jump in episode 16. With episode 16 right here, right now, you're hearing this and you already are planning on going to the gym or starting a weight loss challenge. I would say write down what your goal is. Make sure it's clear as day. Write down the time frame that you have to achieve that goal. And then write down what your plan is to get there. You have where you're at right now and then where you want to be. This is the clock starts ticking now. The sand in the sand glass is slowly dripping down. What are you able to do? Go for it. You have 24 hours in a day. What can you do in these 24 hours? I am a huge fan of saying, see how many push-ups you can do. If you can only do 3 push-ups, do 3 push-ups every hour, on the hour. If that is too much, especially if you haven't done a push-up since PE in elementary school, try and do 3 push-ups a day. Just pick a time, do it once. The next day, do the same thing. Third day, do it in the morning, do it in the evening. That is, everyone can drop down and do 3 push-ups at least once in 24 hours. Now, imagine stacking that up. What was once just 3 push-ups becomes a week, so 21 push-ups in a week, and then will quickly become 5 push-ups in a day, which will become 35 push-ups in a week, and that slow progression will get you up to, say, 10 push-ups a day in the morning, 10 push-ups at night. When you're stacking up small habits like that, you'll find that where you were last year of not doing any push-ups is exponentially beyond what you even thought was possible. And then you've moved into that new standard of being able to move the muscle with bodyweight resistance. Take that and move it to every single exercise. Core, sit-ups, crunches, flutter kicks. What can you do? Do as many as you can. Do that consistently each day. How about pull-ups? I know pull-ups are very hard to do. What can you manage for if it's just 1 pull-up? We'll do that again. Actually, I like talking about this one. If you are not able to do even 1 pull-up, hold yourself on the pull-up bar or the tree branch or wherever you have your hands in that position. Hold yourself as long as you can. Don't even try and pull yourself up. Just hold yourself there. It might be just for 10 seconds. It might be just for 5 seconds. It might be for 30 seconds. Time it for how long you can hold yourself there, and then try again later that day. Same place, same position. Just hold yourself there for as long as you can. Next day, do it again. Next day, do it again. 1 week from then, try and do one pull-up. Try and pull yourself up. And I'm not a stickler. If you want to do the chin-up or pull-up, the difference is just where your palm is facing. Are palms facing you? That's the supinated position. Are they facing away from you? That's pronated. You choose. You choose one. I am not going to be a referee on that one. And then at a certain point, you'll be able to do both. So really makes no difference in my book. If you are going for a pull-up competition, they probably have some rules. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. All right. Same thing goes with cardio. Most people who want to be able to run a mile or 5 miles or maybe even try a half marathon or a marathon, you have to start somewhere. What are you able to do right now? Across the board, everyone who's in that position to do it can walk for 10 minutes. Just walk 10 minutes. Don't even worry about the incline. You don't have to even worry about the terrain or the weather. Just put your shoes on, go for a walk after you eat breakfast, after you eat lunch, after you eat dinner. Start doing that, and you will find you'll be doing substantially more cardio than you were before you even had the goal. The whole thing here is recognizing that there was a way of doing things that you were so used to. That was the pattern that had started. And then you introduced something small, like a 10-minute walk, and it started paying dividends for it. Okay, well, apply that across the board where it's reasonable. And that would be every single time you eat food, even if it's a snack, go for a 10-minute walk. Give it 6 months, and I guarantee you, like Denzel Washington making guarantees. I talk about this frequently. Go YouTube Denzel Washington making guarantees, and you'll see that's his default line in every movie. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. And it's great. Now you'll get the reference. All right. If you go for a 10-minute walk after every single time you eat, you'll be stacking up cardio. I don't know anyone who doesn't like walking. I'm sure there are people out there who just prefer some other means of conveyance. But when it comes to ease, I think most people would choose walking over running. But then if you're able to run, you find the enjoyment in that. And it's actually really good for your brain too, just in terms of taking in new information that's faster than the normal pace of walking. Like studies, they've been done thousands of studies on people who are regulars at running, and that their depth perception is sharper, their reaction time is much faster, and then the way that they put together ideas and concepts and are able to express themselves is more fluid if they're consistent with how they jog or how they run. So I'm a huge fan of seeing what those statistics are to motivate me to do something that I don't like to do. For me, I like doing the sprint training over long distance running. I'm more of a weightlifting type of guy, but that's neither here nor there. Well, I guess it's kind of here, because the way to be consistent with what your routine is to find things that you love doing and stick to the things that you love doing. You don't want to dread your workout, right? Maybe you've heard people call running on the treadmill the dreadmill. Yeah, you don't want to get to that point where you're like, I can't stand running. I rue the day that I came up with this goal and was listening to this podcast. My life was better without it. I find that hard to believe, especially since you're here consistently listening to You Versus You. you believe in yourself. So if you're able to find those exercises and those means of fighting against the resistance of non-movement, you'll be motivated to do something, especially if you like doing those things. For me, it's weightlifting. So find what your niche is, find what that hobby is that is physically demanding, and then start wearing it out. Start doing it. A couple weeks ago, I talked about the 60% rule. That is, if you have your goal, you have your plan, you have your timeline, if you show up and push yourself at 60% of your maximum output, you'll get there. You'll get to your destination. And it won't be as mentally taxing. It won't be as physically taxing, but it'll still be more than if you had not done anything at all. This is what I'd recommend for someone who's more intermediate, like they have that consistency going, only because if there's a newbie who is pushing themselves physically, whether it be with weighted resistance or with cardio, that beginning phase is where most of the gains start happening in every direction. And I'm talking about in the positive, right? You start gaining muscle, you start losing fat, your VO2 max, that's your capacity to get the oxygen in your blood to where it needs to go and recover, goes through the roof. In these moments, I'd say when the newbie is starting to get familiar with the gym and then what the sets and the reps look like, and this is, we'll say, a set is doing one exercise for a certain number of repetitions. That's reps. Here's one set, here's reps. Put that together, right? If you're able to stick to the script of the exercises, the sets, and the reps, in about 2 weeks, you are now familiar with what it looks like. In those moments, I'd say push at 75%. You don't necessarily have to destroy yourself at the gym just to make sure you have the recovery. It's the comfort, being comfortable with your new environment, with that new setting of the gym, but then going beyond being static, right? Just being a couch potato. For newbies, you want to push yourself a little bit harder than 60%. I'd say 75, stick between 65 and 75% for 6 weeks. And then for the next cycle of 6 weeks after you've recovered for a couple of days, push it for 75 to 80, stay right there. And then that third session of 6 weeks going to the gym, I'd say push yourself as hard as you can go, as hard as you can manage, just to see what that feels like, especially as a beginner. But this is the third time you know what you're doing and you're starting to get the lay of the land. After that, when you've compared your notes for those 3 6-week cycles, that's when you can scale back to 60%, or you can say, I'm going to push myself at 75 to 85% for another 6 weeks. The biggest thing is getting started. And this is in every single endeavor, right? When you start to get familiar with how things are done and then what you're able to handle, it becomes easier. A little time for some shout outs. All right. To the good people at Music Mind Studio in Pasadena, thank you. Evan, you're my guy right there, making it sound crispy, making the edits so smooth and seamless, getting the final project handed over so quickly. Thank you. To Karina, to Reggie, to Juan, to Alec, thank you so much for doing what you do. I recommend going to Music Mind Studios, recording your podcast, recording your album, recording your voiceover, whatever it may be. I swear by Music Mind Studio in Pasadena, California. Next shout out goes to Imago Dei Digital Ministry. I see you, Kike. I see you, Alicia, Alonzo, Edgar. Yep, you guys are doing great things for the youth, for the community that you find yourselves in, for everyone who comes in contact with you. If you're looking to make a podcast, reach out on Instagram, Imago Dei Digital Ministry. We'll get back to you and make things happen. As always, major shout out to my day one, Trey Williams. Who kid? Houdini. My guy, Trey. Thank you. Thank you for being my biggest fan since the beginning. All right. Oh, and it would be remiss of me not to give a big shout out to my Furious Five. And we talked about this last time, but if you weren't here, these are my heavenly friends, my saint friends. It's Blessed Piero Giorgio Frassati. His birthday was on Saturday. Big ups, big ups, big ups. Padre Pio, you are always interceding for me. St. Moses the Black, that's one of my patron saints. St. David of Wales right there. Also, that's the one who I was confirmed Catholic as, right? And as a kid, I thought it was funny to be called David Douglas Woods. So that's why I went with him. I had no idea who he was. I was just, a cantankerous, onerous, or I should say ornery, not onerous, my bad, wild child. So you can forgive me for that. I was young. And then St. Anthony of Padua helps you find lost things. Also helps you find your motivation when you don't want to go to the gym. And always, St. Joseph, the foster father, the legal guardian, the savior of our Savior of Jesus. Thank you for praying for me. I need it constantly. And a special shout out, I should say, to the anchor, to King Jesus, but to his mother for his constant prayers. So all things I say, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now at the hour of our death. Amen. All right. So you have it. This is the tension that is the space you find yourself in between what you feel like when you wake up in the morning and then your ideal physique, your goal of getting at, whether it be losing 100 pounds, like what I did, or more. Change your perspective and just reframe how you see things, and that's where you'll find the joy and the pleasure in pushing yourself physically. How do you want to break that inertia? It's really up to you. I think it happens the second your alarm clock goes off. What's that first thought that comes through your mind? If you're able to realize what's going through your mind the second your alarm clock goes off, even if it's, man, I want to be in bed for 1 more hour, or I want to be in bed for 2 more minutes. So I'm gonna hit the snooze. I'm gonna hit the snooze. If you're able to catch what you're saying to yourself right there, and then match it with the place you want to be, you'll find yourself out of bed real fast, right? And it doesn't matter if the alarm clock is 10 a.m., 9 a.m., 8 a.m., 4 a.m., 3 a.m. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you haven't had a good night's sleep the night before. If you're able to capture your inner monologue the second you have to get up, there'll be a difference between peace and the feeling of just agitation or desolation or depression, right? We'll say the positive, the negative. I know I'm in a really great position when I beat my alarm clock, right? I get deep sleep and then wake up naturally before the alarm clock goes off. When that happens, I feel like that's when I hit the zone. I'm in the zone of that new fitness regimen for the 6 weeks and can keep going. Not every day is like that. So I'd say when the alarm clock goes off, the first thought, one, it's gratitude and thanksgiving for another day. But then it goes, I know why I'm getting up and I'm doing things like this. And it makes no difference whether there's a million and one things that need to get done or if I have a clear schedule. The same thing starts within. And I'd say if you become more cognizant of what those first couple thoughts are, you're able to either redirect it for something productive or face the consequence of starting to let these small nagging thoughts or these larger concerns consume all of your mental energy, and that has the danger of capsizing where you're going, right? You do not want to be fixated on the negative. You don't want to be unprepared for the opposition that happens during the day. When my mind is in the right place of saying, I know what I'm doing, I know why I'm doing it, it makes no difference if there's traffic. It makes no difference if a car exploded on the side of the road, like what happened today on the 134 coming here. It makes no difference whether my phone is blowing up constantly with people with all their concerns and their cares and their problems. They want to bring me into the mix. If I am focused because I know what I'm doing, where I'm going, and why, those things are very small. Right? Even if they're urgent for other people, they're not urgent enough for me to throw off my day, my goals, my ambitions, my obligations for some piddly nonsense, right? And I think that even just saying that comes across as being unconcerned, but it's really not. It's being able to navigate between what is important and what is urgent, what is needed and necessary, what are some of the daily fires that'll happen that you can anticipate, and then what is piddly nonsense, right? So if you've written these things down, and this is why I say it every single episode, the importance of writing down your vision. When you write down your vision and you know what you're doing, you're able to discern quickly what's piddly nonsense and then what's actually going to really impact you, either for the positive or the negative. You'll be able to tell the difference between the two and then not be affected by which choice you make. If you can't tell the difference between piddly nonsense and then the world is actually falling, like the sky is falling and everything is a war zone, you'll quickly have no energy. You'll quickly not say, you know what, the safest place to be in the world is my bed, right? You want to be able to navigate those different things that come your way. What are real invitations, and then what's vital, right? And this might sound like something that you should have learned when you were in high school, but it's really, I feel, is a lifelong journey of recognizing what is actually important, and then what is something that is important to someone else. I'll never forget that I ran into someone, a stranger, complete stranger, in Glendale, and she was asking for money, and so I rolled down my window to see like what she was asking. Like I had a feeling she was asking for some change. The second I rolled down the window, I was like, "Hey, is everything okay?" She said, "Did you hear about the attack in Canada?" Right? I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Oh yeah, there was a drone strike in." She named some city. I'm just gonna go with Toronto. She named some place in Canada, and I said, "That sounds fishy," because that's actually breaking news if someone attacked Canada. Oh, what's your name? Oh, my name's Jenny. Oh, here you go. Have a nice day. Prayers up for people in Canada. The second I pulled over to where I was going, I arrived at my destination, I Google searched it. It's like, oh, attack in Canada. There's nothing. It's absolutely nothing, right? There's not even a hint of war. I don't know if Canada's ever been attacked in the last 50 years, right? It was a moment where I was not sure if this person was telling the truth or if they had something going on mentally. I didn't want to judge. This might be something where it had a kernel of truth to it. It didn't. She was living in a fictional reality where people are just getting bombed no matter where they are, right? And this, I take this long story explanation to drive home the point, because what was urgent to her, what was important to her, didn't bear any credence in my world or in the real world of people in Canada. This was an illusion that this lady had. I'd say a delusion that she had. And she was able to say it in a way where it sounded like it could be feasible. The second I found out it wasn't, and that was piddly nonsense, I forgot about it. And said, you know, Lord have mercy on Jenny, right? These things happen all the time. Usually not as extreme, but if someone wants to give you say, hey, how you doing? And they give you a 10-pronged thesis on how their day is going. That might be just someone who wants to vent about their frustrations. I don't know why you thought it would be the time or the place. That's not for me to figure out. The whole thing is saying, if it has no bearing on the things that you're doing and the things that you're going for, it'll quickly derail where you're going, the momentum that you have on what you're working on, and it'll be draining. So I tell you this because it's bound to happen the bigger your goal is. If you want to lose 100 pounds every single day, you're going to get approached with some stuff that doesn't concern you. It's not your battle. It's not your ministry. It's not your problem. Just take it for what it is, and in 5 minutes, see if it still is there begging your attention. All right. The next thing is saying, where do you pull the information and the know-how, not just the motivation to develop that discipline, but where do you get that source of credible teaching and learning to work on your goal? For things like this, I'd say look to whoever motivates you. Maybe it's an athlete, maybe it's an actor or actress, maybe it's someone you knew growing up. Look at their story and what did they do? That's the thing that'll get you inspired. If you're able to bottle up that inspiration and be reminded of it daily, you'll stay on track. If you're able to apply those lessons that other person took and assimilated and then apply them to your life, you'll stay inspired. My vote is to always find a couple people that inspire you or that you aspire to be like, and then just start to emulate the things that they've done given your circumstances. If you're a movie person, who are your favorite heroes? Who are your favorite characters? What did they do in the movie? In the fictional universe of their movie, what did they do? And then match that with what that actor did to prepare for that role. And do a little R&D, a little research and development. Take that, use it in your world. Who's someone in your family that motivates you? Ask them. Just give them a call. Reach out and ask them how they got to that point. What's their backstory? How did they get there? Take those nuggets and kernels of wisdom and lessons that they learned. Put it in your life. Who are the people at the gym that you see regularly? Do you know them or do you see them in passing? Ask them. If it's appropriate. No one wants to be bothered if they're doing cardio, right? That's like the unwritten rule. If you got the headphones on doing cardio, don't interrupt. Don't even look, right? If you're able to find people that inspire you to greatness? And the whole thing really is, what inspires you to go beyond what you used to do before you started to get physical, before you started to work on your fitness? Find what that is, stick with it, use what is good, disregard all the bad things. The thing with the saying for today, the bigger the goal, the bigger the sacrifice, the bigger the dream, the bigger the opposition. Find out, this is for everyone, to put into perspective how big the goal is, and then realize that the effect of that goal being so big and how much it demands for a change, for you to evolve, means you're going to have to cut away something. There's part of the sacrifice is saying, I can't drink like how I used to drink. I can't eat like how I used to eat. And by drinking, I mean alcohol consumption, and things that have a huge caloric intake that is just liquid, right? So shakes, I put it pretty much there. Anything that's blended with ice and is most likely delicious, right? Or an alcoholic beverage. And I'm going to assume everyone's 21 who's listening to this. At some point, what you're taking in terms of calories is going to be sabotaging what you're able to burn. There are exceptions for marathon runners, but the whole thing is saying, find out that area where you can scale back, and then contrast that with what your goal is. For me, when I started, I said, I'm only going to have drinks on the weekend. And then after a couple weeks, I said, you know what? I'm going to just have a 1 drink limit. The whole thing is saying, at some point, the calories that are coming in need to be less than the calories that are going out. That's the episode called Food Formula. Memorize it, apply it, hit your goals, right? When you look at alcohol, there's a ton of things that are not conducive to good health. 1, alcohol is a poison. Second is the pull and the strain it does to your kidneys and your liver to detox is in contrast to every single fitness goal. The next is saying how many calories is 1 drink containing. When you put that next to what your regimen of eating looks like and the calories that you have to hit your goals, it's guaranteed. If you stick to the eating in the deficit, you will lose weight. That is scientific fact. If you put that against how much 1 drink is containing, immediately half the drinks go off the menu for what you're able to do without sabotaging what your fitness goals are. Knowing that, especially after seeing the data, it'll probably say, how much is this worth to you? How much is your goal worth to you? Is it worth a cocktail that has 500 calories in it? That's up to you to decide. Is it worth a couple beers that each beer has 150, 200 calories in it, right? We'll just say on average. Is it worth the damage it'll do to the calories that are coming in versus the calories going out? When you're really serious about hitting your goal, it won't be a 50-50 ratio of, oh, I'd like to do this, but I have to give this up. It'll become crystal clear, transparent. You can only afford to take in the superfluous calories maybe once a week and very limited. That's the sacrifice that needs to be made in between saying, here is what I'm going for, that tension between what's here and now and where I want to be. Just remember that. It's for 6 weeks. I highly recommend taking a deep look into whatever is the thing that's in the way of you hitting that goal, and then saying, I can push past this, right? You'll find when there's a new habit, a new lifestyle, a new way of conducting yourself, it's not too much of a sacrifice. For me at least, most of the the pull on the flesh is saying, I remember when there weren't boundaries. I had the freedom to do whatever I wanted. Well, now that there are boundaries, it's a different type of nostalgic reviewing of the past, saying, I did a lot of things that didn't seem like they had consequences on where I'm at now. And then when I put those boundaries up in order to have more calories going out than that were coming in, this is the thing that had naturally had to go, right? You do something for 6 weeks, see how you feel, celebrate for a day or two, make a new goal, go for it for 6 weeks, see how you feel, recover, rest, celebrate, do whatever you want to do. Do it again, another 6 weeks. Then look back and review the 3 cycles that you had gone for the 6 weeks at a time. Was it manageable? Well, if it wasn't, scale back. Do you think you could do it again? Oh, go for it. Rinse, wash, and repeat. You'll find that when you recalibrate and you reassess and you survey the land, it's actually not that bad. The whole thing with being able to assess accurately for what will last for a lifetime really starts with being more extreme for 6 weeks. If that means cutting out all alcohol for 6 weeks, you'll survive. You'll try. I don't think there's anyone who's ever died of giving up alcohol for 6 weeks and then has regretted it. It might be more of a moment of saying, not realizing the habits and the leisurely activities and the ways of blowing off steam were impacting your overall happiness, right? That's where that tension is. When you try something for just 6 weeks, that's not a long time at all, and then see what you can give up, what you can go without, it really is sobering, right? A little tongue-in-cheek joke right there. The whole thing is saying, if you knew that you could push yourself really hard for 6 weeks and then take your foot off the gas and survey the land, yeah, it's not hard. It might be uncomfortable for some of your friends who do drink heavy, or family members that do drink heavy or don't have parameters up, but that has nothing to do with what your goals are. That's more of a societal peer pressure situation. And if you've never experienced a pull like that, no, just wait till the holidays. It's there. It's always there. You might not have been as cognizant of the push and the pressure that it has of what other people are doing, but it's really a reflection of them and how you make them feel uncomfortable by resisting something that is naturally good for something that is better. It makes people feel uncomfortable. That is the same thing as being interrupted by some person on the street saying that Canada just got Jones struck, right? That's not really your problem. It maybe is their problem because it's mostly what's going on internally for them. For you already have it as a vision board. You already have it as your goal. You already came up with the timeline. You already know that you can push yourself at 60% and hit your goal. Those are the things that can either make or break what your plan is. If slowly getting derailed, you'll find yourself sidetracked, right? When you are able to assess where extra calories can be cut, that's where the ease of eating in deficit comes into. What are the foods that keep you fuller longer? stick with those, right? That's all the leafy greens in oatmeal, right? I'm actually a little bit torn on oatmeal. I'm a huge fan of overnight oats because the consistency of overnight oats actually takes away from some of the negatives that are in oatmeal. I will, next time we come in here, which will be tomorrow, I'll have my research up for you to give you the statistics on overnight oats versus just oatmeal. Just out of the gate, though, the way that it's soaked, it strips the oatmeal of some of the things that cause adverse reactions in your stomach due to just breaking down that type of grain. Where as a is it O negative or O positive? I'm O blood type. Oats aren't great for people who have the O blood type. Cold overnight oats are exceptions because of the how the molecular structure of oatmeal breaks down due to being soaked for those 12 to 24 hours. So that is a nutrition hack and discussion for tomorrow. In the meantime, let's get back to choosing the sacrifice, right? The bigger the goal, the bigger the sacrifice. When you realize how much it takes to move towards your goal and to bridge that divide between where you are now and then where you want to be, all of a sudden things get put in a sharper focus for either being beneficial towards what you're working on or being in contrast to and being opposition to. The hardest part is getting started and then drawing the line in the sand. But once the line is drawn in the sand, all you have to do is say no. You don't even have to change your argument. Just say no. Hey, here, drinks are in the house. Oh, thank you. I'll have one. Oh, drinks are in the house. Have enough? No. No, the answer is no. Oh, hey, look. We're having someone's birthday and we have all the pizza in the world right here. It's your favorite pizza. Oh, thank you. I'll have one slice because I already know what I'm eating. Then the answer is no, or just no. I'm not eating pizza. That is contrary to my restrictions. I can tell you specifically the details and how it throws off my macros, or you can just say no. This is the power of saying no is so awesome, and I think the beauty of having a toddler is when baby girl says no, like the whole beat drops. Right? Everyone's like, whoa, why? Well, the same thing. The secret is, as an adult, it still works. If someone tries to convince you of something, most people have been conditioned to give a deferred no and just not do the thing. But if you just say no, you don't have to say anything after that. You don't have to say no because this, that, and the third. Just say no again. The person might try and double down. Oh, come on. The answer is no. Oh, what about this? No. Just as a social experiment, try it. Don't add anything else to your response except for no and see what happens. All right, we're going to have to get ready to wrap up because our time is coming to a close. But I'll say the final thought of all of this, and the final thought of all of this is to be grateful and thankful, and keeping everything in proportion, mind, body, and spirit. If you are able to find not only your why for why you're doing something that is physically demanding, but then to find at least 10 reasons why you're thankful you're able to do it, it shifts the atmosphere from seeing something as a burden, from seeing it as something that is insurmountable, from seeing it as something that might not be worthwhile. You already convinced yourself it is worthwhile. Maybe you hit rock bottom and have no choice but to get in shape. If you find reasons that are good, but then reasons why you like doing it, it changes your whole outlook for approaching it. For me, it's talking to Jesus and saying, Lord, thank you for an opportunity to go to the gym. Thank you for the money to pay for a gym membership. Thank you that the equipment here is so much better than the equipment that I grew up with. It's better than the equipment that was at the YMCA in the early 2000s. It's better than the equipment that was at my school gym, right? It looked like a dungeon. Out of the gate, that's 6 reasons that I'm thankful for being here at the gym to push. And that's not even going into the why. Oh, I'm thankful that I can be in shape to keep up with my daughter. I'm thankful that I lost 100 pounds and can inspire other people to also go beyond themselves and become a version of themselves that they're proud of, that they're thankful for, right? Come up with 10 things you're thankful for, and then the next day, come up with 10 other reasons, right? That's going to be a very it could be a challenging exercise if you're not used to expressing gratitude or thanksgiving. But this is the hack for the day. I hope no one just skips to the end and they say in 45 minutes. I know he gives a special fitness hack. Well, if you did and you discovered it by mistake, I'm glad you have it. And now that you have it, apply it. Use it in your life. See what happens. And you don't have to thank me. Thank Jesus. So this is it. This is a talk, discussion all about the what to do when you find yourself in that in-between space. When you find yourself in the tension between where you're at currently and where you want to go. In that space, in that oftentimes uncomfortable feeling of the desire is for this thing and it pulls so hard to be over here and this is what I want to do, but this is so far from where I am currently. What do? Look at it, break it down, and it really has to do with shifting your perspective of wonder and armchair philosophizing about all the endless opportunities you could do to making a plan, having a timeline, and going at it day in, day out until you get there. It's not forever, it's just 6 weeks. Break it down as simple as that. That was a key to my success. I can't open the door for you. All I can do is give you the key. You open it for yourself and walk through it. It's your boy signing off, Dave Woods, You versus You. See you later.